Hello everyone, my name is Jason, aka Bacon Chest. Welcome to week 1 of the ICBA D-League. This is going to be our match against ZDH 0218 and the Atlanta Braviaries. So, if you've watched our team builder already, you'll know that the team we are bringing is a Shift Gear, Ghost DMZ, Magina, physically bulky Blastoise, just max, Jolly Beedrill, Mega Beedrill, Fizdef, Arcanine with 3 attacks, a modest Scarf Latios, and a Yachiberry Tailwind Tornadus. And you'll also notice, if you've watched our team builder, that we actually predicted ZDH's team really well. So we predicted the Braviaries roster quite nicely. The first 5 mons you see are exactly what I was expecting, and then I wasn't quite sure on the 6th slot. We see the Celebi, that was probably the one I was most expecting. Just because it does complete that kind of Firewater Grass Core a bit, gives him a decent Blastoise switch in. If it's especially bulky, it can even tank hits from things like, it can even tank a Hurricane from Tornadus, it can tank, Shadow Balls and Ice Beams and Dracos from Latios, it can even tank hits from Magina unless it's boosted up. So, looking at this matchup, I am thinking that we're seeing a Scarf Darmanitan, probably a Spikes Greninja, offensive Mega Metagross with Earthquake and Bullet Punch, Life Orb, Mammoth, setup Thundurus T, and probably some sort of bulky rock setting Celebi is probably what I'm expecting, with maybe some variation on, like, maybe the Scarfer will be Mammoth rather than Darm, but I'm just super expecting Scarf Darmanitan. So, I decided to lead off with Beedrill because it catches the Greninja lead. I don't really have good switch-ins to Greninja, so, even Blastoise takes, over 30 from Dark Pulse, so I'm just, not about that life, so, yeah, we're just going to lead off with Mega Beedrill. If he leads off with Darm or Mammoth, we're going to have to switch out, but, we have reasonable switch-ins in the form of, Arcanine and Blastoise. So you see, it leads out with Celebi. I don't really know why this was the guy. I'm assuming he was just trying to get up rocks, but... yeah, so I'm like, cool, Celebi, excellent. I can click a free U-turn here. I could have gotten up T-Spikes, but that risks him being Tangaberry, Fizdef, living my hit, and killing me off with a Psychic. And I'm just like, yeah, no, that's just too much of a risk. I mean, it could also have been Scarf and just killed me with a Psychic straight off the bat, but I wasn't really expecting a Scarf Celebi because it gives Magina, such free setup. So yeah, I just decided to click U-turn. As you can see, it brings out the Metagross, and that's really, really good for me, because we don't have anything on our team that OHKOs Metagross. Yeah, literally nothing, not even Arcanine. I think Arcanine's Flare Burst is probably our strongest hit on it, and that's, yeah, still not KOing it, given we're not an offensive set. So, getting off that 46%, that proves to me that he is not a bulky set, which is really, really nice. And it lets me just bring out my Latios, because Modest Scarf Latios with Shadow Ball is just going to kill from this range. He doesn't know that I'm Scarf, and he still doesn't know that I'm Scarf, right? Because that could have just been a speed tie. I don't actually know if he was running max speed Jolly, but doesn't matter at this point. He doesn't know what set I am, aside from the fact that I might have to be Modest to kill from that range. So maybe if he did the really nitty-gritty calcs, he may have known at this point. But I believe actually that Modest Scarf did a minimum of 56 to a no-bulk Metagross. So probably a Timid could have done 53. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily know what set I am. That's really, really nice. That's a really good start. We've gotten rid of that Mega Metagross. Huge threat, obviously, really early in the game. So that's really good. Brings out the Mammoth, and, we don't have good switch-ins to Mammoth, but we're just going to go straight into our Blastoise. I obviously don't want to take an Ice Shard, or an Icicle Crash. He actually goes for the Ice Shard, which leads me to believe that he doesn't know that I am Scarf, or he just didn't want to, yeah, he potentially doesn't know that I'm Scarf, because otherwise you would click Icicle Crash there, knowing that Shadow Ball can't KO, but, yeah, I was kind of interested in the Ice Shard play, because Ice Shard doesn't actually kill Latios, assuming he's a Jolly Life Orb set. I later find out that he is actually, in fact, Adamant Life Orb. I probably could have calced that from this Ice Shard damage, but it just didn't, register with me at the time. And looking at this matchup, I decide to double here. Thinking that he wouldn't want to sack Mammoth so early in the game after losing the Mega Metagross so early in the game. And I'm thinking, well, your switch-ins to Blastoise are, Thunderous, Greninja, or Celebi, all of those get destroyed by Beedrill. So I just decide to aggressively double out into Mega Beedrill, attempting to catch this Mammoth. You can see the Mammoth just gives no fucks, stays in, and clicks Earthquake, and down goes my Mega Beedrill. Fortunately, the fact that this Mammoth is Life Orb means that every time it does hit, it is actually wearing itself down, which is actually super handy for a lot of my mons in the late game. So, you know, kind of nice, but obviously we would have liked to have had Mega Beedrill around later, but I did strategically sack it in a way where, like, obviously if I'd gotten that prediction correct, we would have put ourselves in an amazing position, but we didn't necessarily need Mega Beedrill to win this game, given I'm expecting a Scarf Darmanitan, given I know that obviously this Mammoth has Ice Shard. So we bring Blastoise back out, and this time we just, you know, we're just going to make the safe play, we're just going to click Gold. He knows that, so he goes straight out into Thunderous. We do 16%, which makes me think that Blastoise is the most terrible mon in the world, and then I do the calc and realize that, oh no, this is just an AV Thunderous with, like, max HP. And yeah, that's throwing me for a loop a bit, and I'm thinking, oh, well, okay, that's actually super nice, because now this Thunderous can't, that means this Thunderous can't set up on me. I mean, theoretically, the set could have been max HP, max Spadef, Calm Nature, with setup still, but, you know, that seemed fairly unlikely, because then its offensive presence would be, like, yeah, it didn't seem all that likely as a set. But yeah, so what I'm expecting now is, at this point, is an AV set. Given it's an AV set, it probably doesn't have a huge amount of offensive presence, which means it's not KOing this Blastoise, so I just decided to stay in and get off some Ice Beam chip, because currently Latios doesn't 2-hit KO, or at least isn't guaranteed to 2-hit KO with its own Ice Beam, and I need to put it in range of that, because otherwise I'm not, I don't have a particularly good way of taking down this Thunderous. So yeah, so we take 70%. That informs me that he has, like, very, very little to no offensive investment. We do 24, which, you know, isn't great damage, but that's okay. Blastoise is actually still at 35, which is still pretty respectable. You know, can potentially let me take a hit from Darmanitan. If we have Tailwind up, it's, you know, potentially still a threat to things like Mamoswine later in the game. So, you know, that's actually not too bad. We can keep this thing around, at the very least, as sack fodder for later. I know he's going to click T-Bolt here, because nothing else is going to KO Blastoise. So I just go straight into Lati. As, yeah, we're, like, even a crit Thunderbolt from that set is only doing 33, so that's really nice. So now we just get a free Ice Beam here, as he decides to click Knockoff, which is interesting, and, you know, I didn't even think about the potential for Knockoff. I was thinking, like, Dark Pulse or something, but, yeah, obviously, like, a mixed set, when you've got no offensive investment, you don't necessarily care, about running a mixed set. So, yeah, it's interesting. Knockoff does 55, that's fine. It does mean that we're very, very vulnerable to a Scarf Darmanitan now, and I'm really, really worried about that potential, because we now don't have a Lati, which is guaranteed to come in and outspeed it and kill it off with Surf, or Draco. So, yeah, I'm really worried about that potential for that set, and then he actually brings out the Darmanitan on my Latios, and I do like 15%, which seems like really low, and then he has lefties, and I'm thinking, what is going on? So, this is a leftovers, max HP, max Spadef Darmanitan, and I am just so confused right now, and I kind of panic here, and I'm kind of like looking around for solutions, and sort of like, what am I going to do? Realistically, I could have just clicked Surf twice and killed this thing. I suppose it could have had, like, Rock Slide. Like, it could have killed me. Like, I wasn't going to kill it with a Surf from this range, but I could have Surfed, put it in range of pretty much everything else on my team, and then just killed it with something. But I just didn't think to do that, and so I decided to just go into our Arcanine, because that's our, you know, dedicated Darmanitan switch in. As he actually clicks Bulk Up, and I'm just like, whoa, what is happening here? What is happening? So he clicks Bulk Up, and clicks Bulk Up again as I go for a close combat, and actually get a crit. This crit is super nice, in one way, but also fairly unnecessary in another way. So even without a crit, I do about 20% or so. He might have gotten up another Bulk Up, as I do another close combat or an extreme speed, but then he would have had to click rest after that anyway. So I decided to just double into Blastoise to sack this thing off, and then I can bring something in and KO as he clicks rest, and I'm like, okay, well, cool. Now he's clicked rest. He's shown rest bulk up. And I'm assuming he has Sleep Talk, which means he's mono-attacking, which means he's just Fire Punch or Flare Blitz. I'm assuming Fire Punch because Flare Blitz recoil on a resting mon seems like unideal. So yeah, I'm not worried. That's not going to KO Blastoise from here. I can 2-hit KO him with Blastoise's Scald into Latios' Surf. As you see, yeah, he does get the Sleep Talk roll. You can see that even if he had gotten up an additional bulk up on my Arcanine, that still wouldn't have KO'd Blastoise. So he still would have been relying on 2 Rest Talk rolls. So, as you can see, he gets the first one, and potentially has a chance to KO me here, but actually doesn't get the Sleep Talk roll, so we're able to KO with Blastoise. As I said, doesn't usually matter. We could have just brought Latios in and revenged afterwards anyway, so, like, not a big deal. Goes out to the Thundurus here, and I don't have a good switch in for this at this point because Latios is so severely weakened, so we just sack off Blastoise. That is fine. We can bring out Tornadus here, and Tornadus guaranteed outspeeds. Dark Pulse does 14% min, so that's going to get a kill here. Basically because, yeah, Dark Pulse is going to get a kill. And we actually do 36 to the Celebi, which tells me this is a very, very fat Celebi. But that's fine, because Dark Pulse into Hurricane is a guaranteed KO, and so we're able to take out the Celebi, so that's quite nice. Not that the Celebi was doing a huge amount at this point in the game, it potentially was even set up 8 for Megina, but you know, it's a kill for Tornado, so that's nice. Brings out the Greninja, and this is probably the last thing on his team that's really, really worrying to me. Like, the Mammoth one is a concern, but we can kind of play around it, especially because it's Life Orb, and, you know, we've got priority in the back, to deal with it. But this Greninja, if this is a Specs Hydro Pump, it can actually kill Tornadus. Obviously, I am Yachi Berry, so I can live even like a Specs or a Life Orb Ice Beam, so I'm not worried about that, but I am worried about Specs Hydro Pump. So I decided to click Tailwind first, because, you know, that way, if I live the hit, then I get a free kill, effectively, with Tornadus, and if I die to the hit, then I can at least, I've got the Tailwind up, I can bring out Megina, and at that point, actually, to be honest, with a Tailwind up, I just sweep his team with Megina, if he does kill me here. And, you know, that might have actually been more ideal. But as it turns out, I click Tailwind, he clicks Rock Slide, which I'm like, okay, and gets a crit, which I'm like, okay. But that doesn't hugely matter, because we can just click Focus Blast and kill this Greninja. Presumably a physical Greninja? Interesting, whatever. Not going to be a big deal. He goes out into Mamoswine, obviously, to click Ice Shard. I go Arcanine here. This was basically quite fiddly, where if he had clicked Earthquake, it would have been an amazing prediction if he had clicked Earthquake. I still would have won, but it would have required some switching around, but as it stands, it requires some switching around. So basically, I go Arcanine on the Ice Shard, and we now outspeed, so we can just kill him off with Close Combat. So I actually decided to click Flare Blitz here. This was a slight error, me thinking that Close Combat wasn't guaranteed to kill Thundurus, although obviously Close Combat into E-Speed kills Thundurus anyway, so it didn't matter. I should have just clicked Close Combat. But also Close Combat was guaranteed to kill. But anyway, it doesn't matter because he sacks Thundurus. Brings back out the Mamoswine, and now I have to do a couple of sacks to get my Tailwind back up, so I go out into Lati, stunt on him, he predicts the Earthquake, like we predict the Earth, doesn't matter because we're just going to die to Ice Shard anyway. But yeah, so Latios goes down after putting in a lot of work for us in the early game, and then we bring out Tornadus, click out Prankster Tailwind, obviously because we have higher base speed, our priority goes first, eat our Yachi Berry, which isn't going to make a difference at this point, but now this Mamoswine's down to 51, Arcanine is guaranteed to outspeed, and that is going to be that, and we're going to click Close Combat and pick up our first win of the season. So, GG to ZDH0218 and the Atlanta Braviaries. Really happy with that start to the season. I thought that was a really good battle. Really big test of our abilities with such powerful offense stacked up against us. You know, if you look at that, there's like nothing on that team with below 100 in its primary attack stat, and you've got, you know, Darm, Metagross, Thund, and Mamo with like all like 130 plus. So that team was super, super threatening. Some really interesting sets there. That especially defensive bulk up Diamantine, which he later said that he brought for Megina, was really, really interesting. And yeah, so GG once again, and next week we're going up against Hat and the Portland Trailblazers, so until next time, peace.